Let's talk about the Green New Deal legislation that is now out, co-sponsored by Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the House and by Senator Ed Markey in the Senate. The idea of a Green New Deal is we want to deal with two major issues: climate change and economic inequality. New Deal refers to Franklin Delano Roosevelt in the post-World War II era. Stimulus, infrastructure, job creation. And the idea of a Green New Deal is to do another New Deal, but one that takes into account everything we know about climate change and the environment. So AOC and Markey put out a 14-page resolution. The right goes bonkers, saying there's no details. This is pie in the sky. It can never be done. It's impractical. We've got no way to pay for it. It doesn't make any sense. Even Nancy Pelosi is being careful about the Green New Deal, saying it's an enthusiastic idea and that's good, but she's also kind of laughing it off by calling it the green dream. So right away, the main thing is this a step-by-step list of policies with a guide as to how to implement them and how to pay for them? The answer is no. Is it just a list of things which would be nice with no other relevance? No. Is this 14-page proposal meant to become the law? Not really, but that doesn't mean that it can't be impactful. So what I'm going to tell you first is what the Green New Deal wants to do, and then I'll tell you where I think Democrats may be going wrong with this, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad proposal, okay? This Green New Deal is a list of goals, and some of them are vague, some of them are unrealistic in terms of their timing, but it's a really important list of what should be priorities for any serious progressive candidates at this point. Everybody should read it before commenting. It's only 14 pages. And the way they do these resolutions, the margins are gigantic. Like, you would never be allowed to turn this in as a school paper. It's only like half the width of the page because it's so narrow. So there's very little text on the page. The first two pages just kind of frame the situation. So it's very little actual text. Every single one of you should look at it. The proposal gives a 10-year time horizon to do the following. Number one, get to net zero greenhouse gas emissions with 100% of power demand through clean, renewable, zero-emission energy sources. Okay, yeah, it's not realistic. Doing it in 10 years while at the same time upgrading all existing buildings in the United States to the most modern standard, it's extraordinarily unlikely you'd be able to do that in 10 years. But this is actually exactly what the goal should be. Creating millions of jobs is a goal. Okay, that's great. We should say more about how. Investing in infrastructure, but sustainably. Fine. Securing clean air, water, climate resiliency, healthy food, access to nature, and a sustainable environment. Fantastic. It's short on the details, but we'll get to that. Promoting justice and equity by stopping and preventing oppressions of all kinds. I like it, but you've got to be more specific about exactly what you're talking about, and hopefully at some point we will see that. There's a lot of even more vague ideas, like, for example, quote, building a more sustainable food system that ensures universal access to healthy food. That sounds good, but we've got to talk about the specifics of what we mean by that. Investing in high-speed rail and public transit. Absolutely, but we're going to have to flesh out how. There are some more specific items like cleaning up hazardous waste and abandoned sites that are toxic at this point. We should do it, of course. The most important thing about this document, though, for me, is the timing, because it's a totally fair criticism that this doesn't lay out exactly how you do these things, although that's not uncommon in these initial proposals. It's a fair criticism that it doesn't outline how to pay for it. That's also common. It's very common that when you get a proposal in the House or Senate, the proposal says what you want to do. You separately outline how it would be paid for in an appropriations bill. It's a fair critique, but that's commonly how these things work. The most important thing about this document is that with the Democratic primary ramping up, no 2020 Democrat has straight up backed away from it. You do have some Democrats playing a little coy with it. Like Elizabeth Warren said, she's into it, but when she was asked, what specifically do you support in it, she didn't say. Cory Booker, I forget exactly what he said about it, but it was, again, this kind of more timid support of it. But if at this point you're running in 2020 as a Democrat and you say, I am against the bill, that's a real problem, and that's a good thing. And that's one of the most important things that this bill, that this proposal actually does. Now, we do need to figure out a path to doing it, and that's a really important thing. And what we're already running into is that you have a number of people on the left making strategic mistakes. Like, for example, I saw an advisor to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the Tucker Carlson show. I apologize that I forget his name. I believe he's a Cornell University law professor. And a lot of the defenses that he issued were arguing that Tucker had merely misunderstood the proposal and what AOC tweeted and said about it. And some of the denials were really not particularly believable. I think that that's a mistake. I think the idea that would much better serve the left would be to be completely on the same page that, listen, it doesn't say how we pay for it. That's normal. Separately, we're going to put out a proposal for how to pay for it. That's what Bernie did with Medicare for All and then with how to pay for it. When they say a lot of these things are too ambitious, you respond and you say, these are the goals. Let's see how much of it we can actually get done. It's a really bad idea, in my estimation, to sort of back away and play semantic games as I've seen some people do. That's why the right ends up winning. They say, we're going to prioritize ending abortion as we know it and tax cuts for everyone. And then they pass some restrictions on abortion, and then they cut taxes for the rich and corporations, but then they can claim victory and they are putting points up on the board and they end up getting themselves reelected. The left should not fall into the game of saying, okay, fine, maybe we're not going to do it in 10 years. Maybe we would shoot for 50% net zero, 50% of the way towards net zero in 15 years or something like that. That's a mistake. That is a mistake. We should actually be taking a page from the right here in terms of how to handle the criticisms of this proposal. I want to hear from you. I'm on Instagram at david.pakman. The show is on Instagram at David Pakman Show. One of today's sponsors, Sprezabox, is offering you some free stuff that I want to tell you about. Sprezabox is based in New York City. They help keep guys' wardrobes fresh without breaking the bank, because when you become a member of Sprezabox, each month you'll get a new box sent to your door filled with 5 or 6 stylish hand-picked accessories and pieces of clothing for men. It includes high-end socks, neckties, really nice sunglasses, wallets, watches, bracelets, high-quality pens and hair combs. It's really classy stuff that makes it easy to put a little more pop into your wardrobe without having to spend a ton of money. A subscription is just $25 a month, but your new box every single month is guaranteed to have items with a combined value of over $100. A couple of the things I got are a really nice money clip, a pocket square, and some great socks. Go check out the different things that they put in their monthly boxes. They have a lot of really nice looking stuff. Everyone in our audience can get 1 month totally free when you click the link underneath this video and use the promo code PAKMAN. That's PAKMAN.